Hello everyone and welcome to Game 7 of the Women's World Chess Championship match between the champion Wenjun and the challenger Zhongyi. It's been a thrilling match so far. The champion took a lead, won Game 5 and Game 6, and it's gonna be, well, it's not gonna be easy for Zhongyi to get back into the match. She does have now home field advantage. I don't know how much that's of an issue in chess, because it could also mean that you're just have that much more to prove, and maybe you're just under a lot more pressure playing in your hometown than you are, let's say, playing in Shanghai as they did the first 6 games. But okay, who knows? It's up to her, and if she wants to win this match, she first needs to tie, which means that she has to win the next 2 games, or any of the 2 games over the course of the next six games, and even more if she wants to win the match. So yeah, let's check it out. We also have a nice photo before the game, so there you have it. A bit of a different setting. But other than that, everything is pretty much standard. I would like to point out the difference in chairs. I don't know if you know this. The chairs are not standardized. You can choose your own chair. Like, you can have whatever chair you want. I don't know if you could have like a pink Peppa Pig chair, but I'm pretty sure, if it meets the standards, you can choose a chair. And I don't know, which one do you prefer? I think, the right one, it feels definitely, seems to feel very comfortable, but also the left one could be, more comfortable. I don't know. Just a thought. But okay, getting back into the game, we again have the Sicilian. So we had the Sicilian in Game 1, in Game 3, in Game 5, and so we do in Game 7. We have e4, pawn to c5, and knight to f3. Everything the same as in Game 1, 3, and 5. However, in those 3, the challenger went for pawn to e6. Here, Zhongyi goes for knight to c6, and we already have a deviation from the games that have already been played in the match, because this is Game 7. We had 3 Sicilians, we had 3 English openings, and now again the Sicilian, but a different one that could turn into pretty much anything. Now, my favorite here is pawn to b4, everyone knows that, but for a World Chess Championship match, perhaps a bit too ambitious. So bishop to b5, the Nimzovich-Rossolimo. We have e6 and castles kingside, knight g to e7, and as you can see, both of them playing fairly quickly. The top move here is rook e1, then c3, then b3. I automatically play pawn to b4, and only the 4th most popular is pawn to d4, which is the one Wenjun goes for, saying that she either has this very, very much prepared, or maybe she just deviates a little bit to surprise Zhongyi. And okay, it's pretty standard stuff, so let's see what happens. C captures, knight captures, and now the 2 moves that are played here are knight g6 and queen b6. Sometimes, rarely, knight captures and d4, maybe as a surprise, or maybe, probably as a surprise. But yeah, knight g6 and queen to b6 are the top moves, putting pressure on the knight and on the bishop. So you're threatening knight captures, and then you're going to capture the bishop. So knight captures on c6, b captures, hoping to get a d5 in as soon as possible, bishop to d3, knight to g6, and pawn to c4, going for the Marozzi setup, as that is considered strongest against such setups for black. And here, just a nice bishop to e7. If you're wondering why not the immediate pawn to d5, okay, I will show you one line, but it's probably at the highest level, and okay, we could say this is the highest level. It is already lost for black. For example, I will show you one line, and if black doesn't want to be down material, now black could play some sort of a gambit line with bishop e7 or bishop c5. But let's say black wants to equalize in material, already knight c3, and black can resign. There's no good move here. Your d5 pawn is hanging, and if you defend it, or let's say pawn to d4, you're just gonna give a rook e1 check, bishop e7, and now knight to d5, attacking the bishop and the queen. And you might be thinking, well, what's the problem? The knight is also defending the bishop. Well, let's see. Queen a5 attacks the knight. You just capture the knight on g6, and now after queen captures on d5, seems like black is perfectly fine, but bishop e4 wins the full rook on a8. So there are so many possible ways for black to go wrong here. You just have to, play bishop e7 castle, and then at some point you will execute d5. So okay, we have bishop to e7, knight to c3, and castles kingside. We have knight to a4 attacking the queen. Now you can play b3. strengthen your knight, play bishop to b2, get the bishop on this long diagonal, also get c5 in, which will really get control over the center, and just get a firm grip on the position. Now, there's nothing wrong with this for black. It's just very new and very exotic. So queen to c7 and pawn to c5, sort of the upgraded Maroczy structure. We have pawn to d5. You could also play pawn to d6, but of course white will capture either way. C captures, we have bishop captures, and now there are a couple of grandmaster games where g3 and h3 were played. Here we have queen to h5 by Wenjun, and it is now as of move 14 that we have a completely new game. Okay, we have rook to b8 and pawn to b3. Of course, you do not want the b2 as a target, and also you want to play bishop to b2, so it makes perfect sense. Plus, your knight is now defended. It's definitely a great move. Rook to d8, putting a little bit of pressure on that bishop. So rook to d1 and rook to b4. We have bishop to b2, and now knight to f4, putting pressure on the queen. And it seems like Tan Zhongyi is completely in the game, and probably, by choosing so many sidelines with white, Wenjun allowed maybe a bit too much. She goes queen to f3, the only move that does not give her a worse position. Knight captures on d3, rook captures, and bishop to a6. Activating this bad bishop, rook d back to d1, and now bishop captures on h2. So she wins a pawn, but okay, the pieces might not be as active as you'll see. So now queen c3 is what's coming next once the king moves, so which will attack the rook and threaten checkmate on g7. So you have to bring the bishop back to d6. We have king to h1, bishop back all the way to d6, and now queen to c3, threatening the rook. Well, not really, as the bishop defends, but you are threatening checkmate. So bishop to f8, now guarding both of these threats, and knight to c5. We have rook to b6 and queen to e5, and now comes queen to e7. The reason why you cannot trade queens here, sorry about that. The reason why you cannot trade queens here, sorry, I'm still down under something and I can't seem to shake it, but yeah, we will continue. The reason why you cannot capture, for example, queen captures on e5, is that after bishop captures on e5, you could trade, let's say captures, and now bishop captures on c5, but all of a sudden rook to d8 with check, and after bishop to f8, bishop to d6. And you can actually play it. You will play h5, okay, rook captures on f8, but you will win the pawn back, and now with equal material, it is even white who is better here, due to the superior pawn structure. White 2 pawn islands, black 4 pawn islands, and these will be targets you will try to pick off for the rest of the game. So if anything, it is white who's playing this for the win. So after queen e5, we have queen to e7, threatening to win the knight, and rook 8 to c1, nicely defending. We have rook to b5, and rook captures on d8. We have queen captures on d8 and queen to d4, again offering a queen trade, and again Tan Zhongyi declines. Queen h4 check, we have king to g1, and bishop to c8. And here, a move that you wouldn't believe that was played. Here, pawn to a4 seems like a move that you would play, but pawn to e5, closing your own diagonal like this, is something no one expected, but that is exactly what Wenjun plays. And you could even decline. You could play queen to e7 and just, keep the tension. But here, Tan Zhongyi actually traded, as both of them are now very low on the clock, and it's not that it's a bad move or anything, it's perfectly fine. Bishop captures, and now pawn to a5. We have pawn to f4, defending on e5, and pawn to h5, creating some breathing room for the black king. We have king to f2, and now bishop to e7. We have king to e3 and pawn to g5. Seems to be nothing here for the champion. There's all that much to play for black. It's merely a matter of activating this light square bishop. How will you do it? Probably at some point, everything will get traded off. You're still up a pawn, so you might as well sacrifice the c5 pawn, get the bishop into the game, and that's it. But easier said than done with so little time on the clock. We have knight to e4, g captures, king captures, and now bishop to b7. And here the pawn is hanging, but that pawn is the least of your concern. You should play something like king to g7 and just ignore that pawn. Point is that if rook ever captures on c6, then you will play bishop b7 and you will just activate. Let's say rook c7, you'll capture on e4, king captures, and now something like bishop to b4, and okay, the game continues, equal material. It's an equal position. It, should fizzle out in a draw. But here bishop to b7 was played, and this is this is an inaccuracy, or rather the engine says that it's an inaccuracy, but I would say it is much, much more, because with 4 minutes on the clock, trapping your own bishop like this, it's better to lose a pawn than to lose a piece. And bishop to b7 is exactly that. You're losing a piece. We have bishop to c5. Beautifully played, not allowing this pawn to march forward anytime soon. We have bishop captures, knight captures on c5, attacking the bishop, and now king to g7. And here we have king to g5, which is a fine move. Pawn to a4, I will show it, is just crushing, immediately winning. Point is that once you give a check, rook c4, and you either go to b6, and then both your rook and bishop are out of the game for the rest of the game, or you capture on c4, b captures, and the bishop is lost. Or it's not lost, you can play it to c8 or to a8, but it can never leave. Even if you play something like knight b3, allow bishop to a6 to go after the pawn. Once the knight captures on a5, it's also defending on c4, so that bishop is never moving. So it was better, much better, to give up this pawn than to have your bishop trapped like this. We have king to g5, bishop to a8, and now king captures on h5. We have rook to b8, at least trying to activate the rook, rook to c4. We have rook to h8 with check, king to g4, and rook to h2. So the rook gets activated, but you are down a full piece. There's no, replacing that. King to g3, rook to h5, going after the e5 pawn, and now rook g4 check, king to f8, and now the beautiful rook to a4. Rook captures on a5, on e5 does nothing. As you'll see, king e7 was played first. The idea is that once rook captures and you capture, captures on a8 does not come with check. So if the king is on e7, okay, if rook captures bishop, your rook will be on e5, at least you will be able to capture the knight. But that is Tan Zhongyi's dream, giving up this light square bishop for the knight, but that is not happening. King to e7 was played. We have rook captures on a5, rook captures on e5, and now rook to a7 check, king to d6, and now what would you play in this position? Feel free to pause the video. What would you play? It doesn't really matter. Anything you do is winning here, but in the game, pawn to b4 was played, and I mean, what a beautiful move to end the game. And it was in this position, on move 47, that Tan Zhongyi resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So, incredible game. Tan Zhongyi had something. She had initiative with black, but she at some point decided to trade queens, went down on time, and instead of giving back the pawn, she decided to defend the pawn with bishop to b7, and she trapped her own bishop for the rest of the game. So it's a classic example of saving a pawn at the price of a bishop, which is not the best. But yeah, the light square bishop often can cost you a World Chess Championship game. Ask Bobby Fischer if you guys don't believe me. And now Wenjun wins 3 games in a row, game 5, game 6, and game 7. Tan Zhongyi is now down 3 points, and she will have to do the impossible. She has 5 more games in this World Chess Championship match, and she needs to win 3 in order just to get back into the match, which is not impossible, but it's not going to be easy. So yeah, there's nothing to do here. I mean, whatever you do, that bishop is lost, so you're going to be down a full piece, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Beautifully done by Wenjun. Doesn't matter if she goes down, on time, if she goes down in the position, she always somehow, bounces back and just wins a beautiful game. And yeah, that's why she's the world champion, and well, seemingly will be again. So yeah, really hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Derek King, Charles Benjamin Flynn, Diane Schwartz, Ilya Maltsev, and Mohammed Babar Khalil for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. Probably my next upload will be the finals of the Scrambled Chess competition, so stay tuned for that. See you soon.